Welcome back to the third episode of the 2022 season of Lost in the Farmer's Market Garden Shorts. Now, today's subject are these guys. Oh, wow. I guess that one got the vapors. It's just fainted. Don't worry, it's heat wilt. It'll be alright. Anyway, no vegetables were harmed in the filming of this episode. Well, anyway, the scientific name for this row of extremely red plants is Beta vulgaris, subspecies vulgaris, Conditiva Group. Or we just short that to Beta vulgaris and get it over with. Now, you've heard that name before. In last season, we talked about the other Beta vulgaris. That's right, kids. These are beets. These are a beets or beetroot, if you want to really be over-specific. I mean, really. We all know beets make roots. Whatever. So, it's in the Amaranthaceae family. Right up there with actual amaranth. You know, that plant that developed a mutation to make it resistant to Roundup just to say F you corn farmers? It's a weed after my own heart. Just saying. But it's also a staple in the Caribbean. For instance, a good example would be callaloo, which is a type of amaranth, and it's a common green eaten down there. In fact, we have amaranth as a flower that you can buy at nurseries right next to other stuff. So amaranth is very versatile, and its family is very versatile. But we're here to talk about the beets. Beets are originally native to the ancient Middle East and were grown originally for their leaves by ancient Egyptians, Greeks, and Romans. But at some point during the Roman Empire, they started to cultivate it for the roots and the greens, which is probably the point at which beets and Swiss chard, the other one that's Beta vulgaris, something, 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 diverged as two different plants. So Swiss chard probably isn't actually Swiss. Go figure. Now, what might have happened is it got the name because the Swiss, genetically bred it and perfected it, so to speak. I don't know for sure, but that's the theory I'm working on. Anyway, the German name for beets is Mangelwurzel, which goes to something that I will cover later on in this episode. But let's start with the stats. Beets are viable as a garden crop from zone 2 through 11 in the USDA zones for North America. They prefer a soil pH of 6 to 7 and exposure of full or partial sun. They can have a maximum height range of 12 to 18 inches tall with a width of 18 to 24 inches wide. That's because the actual beetroot itself, the swollen part, spreads the leaves out because they sort of dangle off the sides. Now, this variety in front of you is called bull's blood, and it is so red that even the roots are in deep pink. It produces a lot of red pigmented dye that you can harvest and then stabilize and use to dye clothing if things go sideways. If you've been paying attention to the Lost in the Farmer's Market blog, I've been talking about wild forage. Well, red beets would be a dye plant and a food plant, and a leaf green all in one package. Really efficient. But this isn't the only color they come in. There are straight yellow ones, the golden beets. There are red ones. There are ones that are verging on green. There are straight white ones. There's a lot of variety. You can find a beet for your fancy regardless. One looks like a bullseye when you cut the root in half, and it's called Chioggia. It's amazing. It looks like a red and white bullseye. Now, with that said, the health issue. During World War II, there was a disease, quote-unquote, that called mango flu, I believe it was. And that comes from the German name for beets, Mangelwurzel, but it's because of food rationing. Beets became a staple because possibly there was nothing else. Now, the problem is that overconsumption of beets can cause kidney stones due to oxalate crystals that are inherently in the foliage and the root. This is why we cook it. This is why we cook Swiss chard, because raw Swiss chard is not very good tasting. Heating and cooking destroys the oxalate and makes it safe to consume, safer. I'm not sure you're going to knock it all out necessarily with beets, because it gives them their unique flavor, but you'll knock it out enough that, well, let's just say you won't be pissing gravel. Now, about that pissing. Additionally, beets can cause a medical condition called beeturia, which turns the urine pink or red. I'm not kidding you, folks. That is the worst party trick ever. You just go over this urinal and it's just, hi, Bob. Ah! Yeah, no. 0 of 10 would not recommend. I'm just saying. But anyway, that's what I have for you for beets. If you like this episode, please hit like or subscribe. If you have a question, even in the comments section. And consequently, before I go, this might be a little revolutionary. Beetroot and feta on pizza. I'm just saying. Hey, at least it's not pineapple or kiwi. Ugh. That's all I have for you. Thanks for watching.